Hey everybody, welcome back to, I'm just going to call it the podcast for right now. If you've been with us for any length of time, you know we took a little bit of a hiatus with the Every Day is Saturday podcast. It was late in 2024 that I let you all know we were going to shut it down for a little while. We were going to go under construction. We were going to retool a few things, and we were going to come back at you with what I hope to be an even better version of what was, I think, a good podcast. And today is that day. And so welcome back. I'm excited to be here, excited to kind of relaunch the podcast. The podcast was always, of all the different ways that we do education at Fiat, and if you've been around Fiat for any length of time, you know education's really important to us. But in all the different facets or avenues that we do education, the podcast is one of my favorites. So I'm really, really glad to be back. So before I get into the details of the relaunch and give you the new name and all that kind of fun stuff, I want to start with a quick story. And again, maybe it's a story you've heard being around Fiat, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and that is mountain climbing. When you think about mountain climbing and going up a mountain and then coming down a mountain, it's an analogy that we use all the time because I think it plays really, really well kind of not only into life and the way that we kind of have our working years and then we have our retirement years on that mountain descent, but it works really well for us relative to the type of planning that we do here at Fiat and kind of helps tell our story. So with that being said, the tallest mountain you could ever climb is Mount Everest. It's 29,035 feet tall. Some perspective on that, the Rockies here in the United States peak out in the 14,000 foot range. And so obviously a huge mountain to climb, pun intended. That being said, there's crazy people every single year that attempt to do this. 2019, at the time, they had set a record. In 2019, there was 1,120 people that attempted to get up this mountain. Now, not everybody made it. Almost every year, that's true. Not everybody that attempts to get to the top of Mount Everest actually gets up there. But it was a pretty good year. All in all, of the 1,120 people that attempted it, there was 858 people that actually made it to the top, which I thought was really good. Very interesting stat. Now, if you dive in a little bit deeper, one of the things you'll find is that of the 858 people that made it up there, over half of them, 53% of them, were guides. Sherpas, high altitude experts, whatever you want to call them. At the end of the day, because it's such a treacherous journey and dangerous and it's long and all the things, nobody goes up there by themselves. Nobody sets out to climb Mount Everest and just on their own decides to try this feat or go at this journey on their own. They're all bringing a coach, a guide, an expert with them. That being said, even in spite of that, of the 858 people that made it to the top of Mount Everest in 2019, 850 of them made it home. In other words, 8 of them died on the way down or died on the descent. The reason I tell the story is not just because of what I alluded to earlier of the fact that there's kind of these accumulation years in retirement. We call those the mountain climbing years here at Fiat. Then there's this descent or the spending years, the distribution years of your life where you have to take the money and the wealth that you've created and turn it back into a paycheck and live off of that money. It's because what's true in my mind, in my almost 20 years now in this industry, is that the descent is far more treacherous than the ascent, and that the treacheries are different. What's true almost every year of Mount Everest, not every year, is that people die. And what's also true almost every year of Mount Everest is that more people die on the way down than on the way up because of what I just alluded to. And so when I got into this industry almost 20 years ago, I always thought the biggest problem I was going to face as a newly minted financial advisor, other than convincing people that I wasn't 12 years old, is about what I looked when I think it was about 23 when I got into the industry, was building portfolios to grow, beating the market, all of that kind of stuff. Lo and behold, I found kind of a niche with pre-retirees and retirees. I just realized on the whole, I liked working with that crowd a little bit better than my peers. But on top of it, I also noticed that the skills and expertise and planning and everything that was being done at the firm that I was working for at the time really didn't have anything to do with teaching our clients how to spend their money in retirement. It was all focused on this wealth accumulation goal, even if that particular family was already on the descent. And so it's the whole concept of see a need, meet a need, and then Fiat is born. And so Fiat has always had this underpinning or tone of, hey, we want to help you or specialize in this mountain descent. We want to try to help get you home. And so with that in mind, kind of going against the flow of our industry and being so different in this idea of the traditional model or thought that most people have when they think, gosh, I need to hire a financial advisor. I want to hire an advisor, or what value can an advisor provide, is usually around this idea of growing piles of money, teaching you how to save, helping that money grow, whether it's in the public markets or private or otherwise, when in reality, the primary purpose for us here at Fiat is not that. It's teaching you how to take the pile of money that you've saved and turn it into a paycheck, or turn it into a lifestyle, or give purpose to it. Because what I've realized is over the years, people don't save piles of money to have piles of money. And so while everybody in my industry seems so focused on the ascent, it seemed to me that people had forgot about the descent. And so that is really kind of our focus here. Again, if you're familiar with Fiat, you're a client, you're very familiar with this. But I wanted that context, one, so that all listeners understood it. But then two, to give you a little background on the rebrand of the podcast and why we're calling it what we're calling it. So without further ado, for the first, I'm going to call it 85 episodes. I didn't look this up ahead of time. I probably should have. The name of the podcast was Every Day is Saturday. Now, that was absolutely kind of paying homage to this idea of retirement, right? This idea that you no longer have Saturdays once a week, you're retired, every day should feel like Saturday. And so it was cute and it worked and I liked it and I still like it, but trying to kind of consolidate everything into consistent messaging here at Fiat, the new name of our podcast, which goes along with the name of the process that we go through with new families as they onboard at Fiat, is Retirement Redefined. Retirement Redefined. One, I love alliteration, so I love the two R's, so that's part of it. But the other part of it is this idea that I feel like we're trying to redefine where financial advisors add value, or what you should expect from the relationship of hiring a financial advisor when you come to Fiat. What you should expect is finding advisors that are experts in teaching you how to get home, to get down the mountain. That, you guys, that could be everything from cash flow planning and retirement. Now that the paycheck is shut off because you're retired, how do you recreate a paycheck? That can be the traditional investment stuff that you're used to with advisors and your portfolio and what that looks like, and your diversification and allocation and all that kind of stuff. Super important. But the portfolio's primary job no longer is growth. The portfolio's primary job now is income. And so how do we kind of redefine the outcomes that you're looking for in your investments? Taxes is a really big part of what we do here, because at the end of the day, you cannot make a financial decision that doesn't have a tax impact or overlay on top of it. And so we brought that expertise in-house. And then insurances and legacy. The legacy, of course, being the important part, because none of us are going to beat death. And at some point at the end of our life, whatever it is that we've built, both physical asset-wise, investable asset-wise, we have to figure out where that goes. And that's obviously a big part of the planning that we do here. So we're trying to redefine how people think about financial advisors and redefine what they think of when they think of our space or our industry. And so there's the name. Now, the other thing you're going to notice that's different is, normally sat beside me, I had a co-host. He is no longer Mr. Matthew Stahl. Great run with Matt. Matt and I are still really good friends. That being said, different phase of life, and so it's time for a new co-host. But I'm gonna tease you with that one. We're gonna leave that one behind, because in the next episode, I'm going to introduce you to my new co-host, and I'm gonna give you a hint of who it is. I'll give you two hints. Number one, the new co-host for our podcast, which is now called Retirement Redefined, if you didn't pick up on that already, has been a guest on a previous episode of Every Day is Saturday. So there's hint number one. Hint number two, Fiat, under the Fiat brand or umbrella, we made a pretty big move in the fourth quarter of 2024. And that big move brought some new faces into the Fiat world. And one of those new faces in that move is my co-host. And so those are the two clues. I'll be curious if you have figured it out already, or if you'll figure it out before the new episode comes out. But here's what's not changing. We're still here to educate you. We're still going to focus in on this mountain descent. We're still going to try to bring in guests and tell the stories of our clients that are living life in a meaningful way. Some of that stuff is always going to remain consistent. The cadence by which we put these podcasts out, which is every other week, that's all going to remain the same. And hopefully you'll stick with us through this new phase or new season of our podcast here at Fiat. It has been a joy to bring it to you for the last 3.5, 4 years, however long it's been, and really excited about this kind of new relaunch and the new co-host and some of the things that we have planned. And so find us in 2 weeks. You'll find the new co-host, and welcome to Retirement Redefined. We'll see y'all in a couple weeks.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to click the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guests and does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Fiat Wealth Management. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.